Do you remember what you were doing the last time you consumed news? Odds are, you were scrolling through your smartphone or browsing on a laptop or tablet. Like the other 62% of North Americans, you probably got your news from social media.
The role of social media in the last few years has really exploded, where I think social is the new internet. There's so much activity happening on social platforms like the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Snapchats and the Instagrams, that people are consuming all of their news and information there. And there's a feedback loop. They're talking to us and they're commenting and they're filtering. And so that's been a huge change as well.
There's nothing bigger now than social media. Like, I think everybody, most people get their news from social media now, from their Facebook feeds, or to a smaller degree for our particular audience, to Twitter and things like that. We have tapped into a resource of people that are openly and actively there every single day. People are going onto Facebook, not just in the morning when they wake up and when they go to bed at night, but all throughout the day. People are checking Facebook. And if we can provide them with a glimpse of what's happening in their community and community news that nobody else can, I think it's important for us to really focus on that and do it as much as we possibly can, because that's where our audience lives now.
Since the sudden rise of social media a decade ago, local newsrooms across Canada have been forced to adapt. National stations like CBC were among the first on board with the new technology, using it not only as a means to share news stories as a finished product, but also to push stories, attract new demographics, and give updates in real time.
We use social media definitely to push our stories. Our reporters now, just recently actually, I would say in the last 6 months to a year, have been instructed to, as soon as they're done editing their story, they post it online. So they're putting it on our Facebook page and they're tweeting it out as well.
Local newsrooms, however, were not as quick to pick up on the new media platform effectively. It's only been in the past few years that small town news stations have begun hiring interns and reporters with more experience working with social media. The emerging platform was met with hesitation, particularly with older generation journalists who'd only just gotten used to the internet age of sharing news content. But ultimately, with funding cuts to news organizations increasing around the globe, they were given no choice but to relent and give the public what they wanted.
Users, whether it's viewers or readers, now tell us when they want to consume our content, how they want to consume it, where and when. So things like a physical newspaper delivered at 7 o'clock in the morning, every weekday, are no longer, enough. Local is really under pressure. Local news coverage in Canada and the US is really under pressure. A lot of smaller outlets have dried up. And there's been a real retreat of coverage, so it's a problem. I mean, it's gotten to the point where the government is now taking a look at what can be done.
So that then has meant that online has become an opportunity for newsrooms to remain relevant. For example, in some cases where we used to see a weekly or a thrice weekly in a community, now maybe only be once a week, but their website is updated daily. So they still try to service the community with breaking news and that kind of thing through the digital first model, which is to post things first and then to print or broadcast later.
Radio used to be the immediate platform that people turned to for breaking news, but the role has been taken over by social media in recent years. This is because of the speed the internet offers as a platform, not to mention that this technology also allows the message to spread wider than traditional news channels.
With the Facebook Live aspect, you can watch it when you want and just realize this was shot however long ago, but I can still kind of feel in the moment. So that's a huge pro. The immediate reaction you can gather from people, you're immediately getting news out to people. So that ability to go live really keeps your audience engaged. It keeps your audience attracted to the product that you're working with and the organization you're working for.
There's no 6 o'clock news that anybody waits for anymore. If people want information, we live in a world where everything is immediate. So social media allows you to take that content to your viewer or to your listener when and where they expect it, which is right now on my phone, on my computer, on my tablet.
And in the constantly developing world of social media, video and audio quality is improving each month. Twitter became the first networking site to acquire a live streaming application back in January of 2015, Periscope. Facebook followed suit in mid-2016 with the creation of Facebook Live. To the untrained eye, the software can be used recreationally, but to a journalist, it is used as a tool.
What you find with the new and emerging technology like Facebook Live and Periscope, which are fairly new technologies, I would say Periscope about a year and a half, Facebook Live less than a year, I would say, in terms of an innovation. Not a lot of community newspapers use these technologies.
I think the conversation that can happen, the back and forth, whether it's through comments or it's in a live environment where, with Facebook Live, you'll see this now happening all the time. It's not just the hearts and the smiles that go across or the thumbs up that go across, but people are commenting.
Does it have potential? And the answer to that one is absolutely. This technology allows there to be a broadcast type tool for small newsrooms. I mean, when you think of how much broadcasting equipment costs, for the price of a good data plan and a smartphone, you can now go out and broadcast things live.
Using live streaming applications like Facebook Live and Periscope is not only more timely when it comes to covering breaking news, but it's also more cost-effective and efficient for most local newsrooms. Another added benefit, according to Andrew Lundy, is that now journalists can take user-generated content, or UGC, that was published on social media and turn it into a news story quickly, easily, and most importantly, cheaply.
The Arab Spring, from 2011 through, almost the present day, I guess in some cases, was told through the lens of social media, of people on the ground in Tunisia or in Cairo, talking about what is happening, and not professional journalists flying there from London and landing with a camera crew. Not that didn't happen, but we were getting a lot of information through people on the ground. That said, there's a huge potential there for using, whether it's UGC or whether it's using digital tools to tell stories that are cheap. A digital news organization doesn't have to have cameras, expensive cameras and sound packs and trucks, satellite trucks, and a printing press and all the rest. So it should be less expensive to actually produce the news.
Traditionally, doing a live hit, it's a very expensive endeavor. It involves $1 million satellite truck. It involves an employee to operate that satellite truck, so a very skilled technician. It involves a camera operator as well that would operate the live hit camera, then a reporter. So there are a lot of people involved. Therefore, newsrooms take that decision on whether or not to go live very seriously because it involves a lot of money, it involves a lot of resources.
These live streaming applications also allow reporters to spend more time covering multiple stories because of the accessibility of using the apps to broadcast. Particularly in local newsrooms, these live streaming features offer a potential solution for funding cuts that wouldn't involve job loss and would help rebuild lost trust within the community.
We started to see this decline in independent ownership, and it's just been a slow downward trend. You wouldn't find as many independents now. So what has happened is that for economic reasons, you'll find that local newspapers have started to be filled with more general copy, wire copy from elsewhere, and the local content has been diminished. And that broke a sacred trust.
The front section is the local section, and it's been getting thinner and thinner over the years, and you hear about all of the changes in the print industry and the job loss and things like that, and it's sad, it really is, because I think papers do something different. I think each media lends itself to a different area of expertise.
Once that trust was broken down, then the whole dynamic changed, and that, I think, is one of the main things that journalism now needs to work towards, especially in communities, is reestablishing that trust.
So what can we expect to see in the future of live streaming the news? It's been made clear in past years that traditional platforms just aren't cutting it anymore. With younger generation reporters entering the journalism industry, social media use will improve and increase.
I think that especially younger journalists who are so prone to being on their phones all the time, they know the basics of Facebook, they know the basics of Twitter, they know the basics of social media because unfortunately in today's day and age, that's what they grow up in. That the fundamentals of how to use social media is there, it's just the proper training as far as how do we now transition from basic social media use to professional social media use.
I think we stand an excellent chance if we give ourselves the opportunity to rebuild our relationships. I think though it's going to take a generation of young entrepreneurial type journalists coming in who are technically savvy, who can use these new tools and use them in innovative ways to come into communities.
Facebook Live has changed the game. It's changed the game because now it's pennies, cents, not even, it's free to go live. From a broadcaster's point of view, you can be anywhere and everywhere with like very little technology. So the possibilities are endless.
It's impossible to tell what the future holds, but one thing is clear. Local newsrooms are running low on options when it comes to remaining fully operational. Live streaming broadcasts, events, and breaking news through social media might be the money-saving, audience-attracting solution that the industry has been begging for.
I think that we need to be more experimental, and I think things like Periscope and Facebook Live, I would hope that news organizations are diving in and trying them out and seeing what the advantages and the disadvantages are, and innovating. You know, maybe there's a better way to use those tools to tell stories. That does need to happen. I think there's a lot of potential there, but we won't know exactly what it is unless we actually try, and experiment with it and be brave about it.